All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Robert Ludlum, The Scarlatti Inheritance. It came out in 1971, and it is Robert Ludlum's first ever book that he wrote and got published. And we're going to discuss that a little bit. But before we get into that, let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. I mean, this is a pretty cool cover. I like the Ludlum with the pistol in for the L. Maybe they should have done a pistol over here too. I don't know. It might have just confused people. But anyway, the Scarlatti Inheritance. Great, just a dynamic little cover. You know, I've got all of Robert Ludlum's one of my favorite thriller writers, and I've got all of his books over here. We'll pan through the library over here to my Robert Ludlum collection is way up there. Anyway, so as you can tell, I really like the guy because I have pretty much all of his books. And I pretty much love all of his books. But let's get into this one because I'll be honest. This one, I remember reading it in the 90s when I was younger, and I don't remember like much about it. I didn't remember anything about it, to be honest with you. But I knew I'd read it. I've read all of his books. It was just, I guess, so unmemorable. And then when I was rereading it, I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, now I know why it was unmemorable. It's because it's his first novel. I don't think it's average. I mean, most Robert Ludlum thrillers are just 10 out of 10, knockout, dynamite, action-packed, plot thick, epic and thrillers like The Bourne Identity and things like that. But this was just like different. This was I'm just going to read the back jacket copy to give you an idea of what's going on, and then we're going to move on from that because okay, her weapons are money and power. Her target, the most dangerous man in the world, her own son. Elizabeth Wickham Scarlatti has a plan, a desperate last-minute gamble designed to save the world from her son, Ulster, an incalculably cruel man who is working for the Third Reich under the name of Heinrich Kroger. If Elizabeth cannot stop him, Ulster will give Hitler the most powerful instrument on earth. It's a great jacket copy, but the book isn't about any of that. Initially, I'm just like, what is this thing really about? It's kind of like, it's more about how this Scarlatti family rises to power and how one of their sons is just a complete douchebag tosser. And that's kind of the thrust of all of the book for the most part. And then we do get into the Hitler kind of double crossing, double agent, spycraft kind of stuff a little bit in it. But that's not really what the whole thing is about. So on page 31, there was a real interesting passage I read, which the thing is even in a book that I kind of ho-humming my way through it, once in a while there's really interesting passages. This is how Scarlatti, and I like the way it's written. It's just how the Scarlatti family kind of came into power. On August 24th, 1892, and here's the thing about this book, is it's kind of set up to be this World War II thriller. However, hardly any, like literally none of the book takes place during World War II, except for a little bit at the very beginning and some at the very end. But the book is mostly about the Scarlatti family gaining their fortune, and it starts in 1892. And then we go from 1892 all the way up to World War II, watching this family develop. But anyway, I really like the way this was written. On August 24th, 1892, and the heading of this chapter is called The American Success Story. So anyway, on August 24th, 1892, the social world of Chicago and Evanston, Illinois, was shaken to its foundations which were not inordinately firm to begin with. For on this day, Elizabeth Royce Wickham, the 27-year-old daughter of industrialist Albert O. Wickham, married an impoverished Sicilian immigrant by the name of Giovanni Marigi Scarlatti. I don't know why I liked that passage, but it did set up the fact that this might be a gangster novel. It might be a Sicilian mafia novel. It's definitely a novel about this Scarlatti family's rise to power and how one of their sons gets involved with the Third Reich. And then, but it takes you from 1892 up to World War II, and just these little snippets of what the family's going through. And just kind of like, we do see most of the book through Elizabeth's eyes, but we see a lot of the book through her son Ulster's eyes. There's 3 sons that she has, and she wants to give one of them, she wants to leave one of them in charge of the family business because her husband, Giovanni, dies pretty early on. And it was spoilery. But anyway, the whole thrust of the story is that these 3 sons, none of them are really capable of taking over the business for their father, except for maybe Ulster, the youngest one, but he's a complete raging a-hole everywhere he goes. She tries to fix him. She tries to get him jobs where he can learn how to be a successful human, and he just it up at every turn. And then he ends up going to World War I, which we get to see some of that, which was actually pretty interesting, is this idiot, mean, cruel kid Ulster ends up in World War I. And I won't tell you a lot of things about that because that's kind of the surprising parts of the book, is he, let's just say his experiences and some of the lies he tells during World War I and some of the deceptions that he plays upon other people are lessons that he learns that he can use in business. And then he's an evil businessman. He becomes involved in the Third Reich, as the back jacket says. None of this is spoilery. And then the thrust of the book is basically this mother is so devastated by how her son turned out, and that she kind of starts to realize that he might have something to do with Hitler and the coming of World War II and different things that are going on. And then it's just kind of a chase. Towards the end, it's just kind of a chase through Europe with an explosive ending. And I didn't feel like this had the same, like it was too much. From 1892 to 1940, that's too much history to cover in one of Robert Ludlum's smaller books. I mean, it's only like 350 pages. I just felt like it was just racing by with the history, and I found myself a little bit disappointed. I mean, I'm literally going to give this a 5 out of 10. It's good enough. It's got good enough scenes that it kept me kind of interested in, is this idiot Ulster going to get his due at some point? Because nobody likes a bully, and this guy is the biggest bully you'll ever meet. I mean, a dangerous type of bully. And so I was interested to see, is his mom really going to, I'm not even want to say what happens at the end, but is his mom really gonna? And anyway, so just, I'm probably gonna go down as my least favorite Ludlum, but like I said, I love Ludlum, so I mean, he's my dude. But anyway, so for the Scarlatti Inheritance book, the first ever Robert Ludlum book he ever wrote, about 5 out of 10.